Hello, MCU fans! Today we're going to take a look at everything we learned from the scrapped Kang Dynasty script, aka the old Avengers 5. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to cover this or not, but there's an article that just came out telling us that for sure, everything from this script has been scrapped and that Doomsday, the new Avengers 5, is being completely rewritten. So, that would theoretically mean there are no spoilers, but I will still issue the mildest of spoiler warnings on the off chance that maybe some small remnants of that original script stay around. But honestly, it is so different from everything we're hearing about Doomsday that I think we're going to be fine. So also I want to say I'm only going to cover the high-level elements of the script. If you want to read the whole script, you can go out to Exiled Scooper on Twitter, who has posted basically in 2 long Twitter threads the entire thing. I'm just going to talk about the main points that I think are the most interesting. So, let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget we have a January contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. You could win a book or a steelbook. Best of luck. And we have a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check it out in case you're interested. All right, so the thing that I thought was really cool is we finally get the backstory of Quantumania's Kang. Basically, what he was doing before he was exiled, why he was exiled, etc. Because remember, he said, there was a lot of me, they exiled me down here, they're afraid of me. So we learn that similar to He Who Remains, this version of Kang also had a variant of Ravonna. And in fact, they had been friends since childhood and had a baby together. But there were a lot of arguments between this Kang and Ravonna over his decision to wage war on the Council. Remember, he said, I saw their chaos, and Janet, of course, says, you mean you started a war. So, Ravonna did not want him to start this war. However, he really felt it was necessary. It was necessary to save the multiverse. And in fact, in the movie, there would have been flashbacks showing him killing lots of Avengers variants. Because remember, in Quantumania, he was joking about, have I killed you before? I've killed so many Avengers. But unfortunately, his family is killed by the Kang Council, including Ravonna herself. Then he's ambushed and captured by the 3 main Kangs. As Janet explained, they exiled him here outside of space and time, the only place that could hold him. And here's, of course, where we saw him being shot into the quantum realm by those main 3 Kangs. So basically, this confirmed the theories that a lot of us have had, which is before the first multiversal war, these 3 Kangs exiled the Kang in Quantumania, and that's probably why we see the 3 Timekeeper statues, but then one of them was broken, because there probably were 4, and then this guy rebelled against them and got jettisoned into the quantum realm. Okay, so that is the backstory of the Kang from Quantumania, and I'm really glad this script came out because otherwise I don't think we would have ever gotten that backstory. All right, so then, according to Exiled Scooper, there were a lot of plans for Kang that got scrapped. So, let me blow this up a bit, and according to Exiled Scooper, here's how the plan was originally mapped out. Of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania gave us the introduction to Kang the Conqueror. Loki Season 1 and 2 gave us the debut of He Who Remains and Victor Timely. Then, Deadpool and Wolverine was going to set up the Council of Kangs as the overarching threat via a mid-credit scene. Isn't that wild? Of course, it was later scrapped. Agatha all along was supposed to introduce us to Immortus. Whoa. Then Moon Knight Season 2 was supposed to introduce us to Rama-Tut. That's not very surprising because there were Easter eggs in Season 1 for Rama-Tut. But this may explain why we still don't have a Season 2. It probably had to be rewritten if that was the original plot. Then X-Men 97, wild, Season 2 was going to introduce the Centurion and the formation of the Council of Kangs. And that makes so much sense because we did see that Kang was a villain in the original X-Men the Animated Series, and this might also explain why X-Men 97 Season 2 was delayed and had to be quote-unquote rewritten. Wild, right? And then Fantastic Four was going to give us more Kang lore, including the first multiversal Kang War. And that makes a lot of sense because we're going to see that the Fantastic Four have a ton of information about Kang and this multiversal war. So wild, huh? This is everything Marvel was going to do with Kang and then had to change when they pivoted away. Crazy. All right, so no surprise here. Kang from Quantumania that fell into the multiversal core, he ends up in something that the script terms as the Beyond Zone and basically becomes Beyonder Kang. In his mind, the Prime Kang. So we will pick up with him when he reappears later in the script. Okay, so then this is crazy. The Kang Council, as we saw at the end of Quantumania, is ready to go on the attack. And they start by defeating the Watchers. And yes, the script uses plural, Watchers. And ultimately, Uatu is banished to the edges of time, whatever that means. And what's interesting too is Uatu does not show up again in the script. So maybe he would have came back in Secret Wars, but he's out of the picture. The Kang Council wipes him out right off the bat. And the nexus of all realities, his home, crumbles, and reality starts to fade. So man, the Kang Council is not playing around. Okay, so then we see Loki observing the threat of the Kangs, and he's getting very concerned. And he ponders the fate of potential anchor beings. Remember the anchor being concept that came up in Deadpool and Wolverine. And in fact, the anchor beings the script says he's thinking about are Deadpool, Wolverine, Tobey's Spider-Man, Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, and Franklin Richards. Now, I'm not a big fan of anchor beings, so I'm okay if this just doesn't happen. But it's interesting to know that they were really going to just go headfirst into this anchor being concept. It's also interesting that both Deadpool and Wolverine were considered anchor beings. All right, so then we have Mobius and B-15, and they are monitoring the growing crisis. And in fact, you remember at the end of Loki Season 2, that's what they were doing, checking out all the different variants. And they're analyzing data on the Kang variant patterns. They're realizing there's more and more showing up. Then this is what's crazy on the Fantastic Four, right? They show up at the TVA, and number one, they know who the TVA is. That's interesting. And they're talking about building a life raft. So there were all kinds of theories about Marvel building this life raft concept, going around and saving anchor beings. That does seem to be what was in the original script. But this is why I'm saying a lot would have happened in the original version of the Fantastic Four, because somehow they have to learn about the TVA, learn about the Kangs, and decide to build this raft. So we'll see whether the actual Fantastic Four movie that we're going to get later this year goes anywhere in this direction. But I'm kind of doubting it, right? I think they're going to totally pivot from this. All right, then we see that Scott is suffering from PTSD after encountering Kang, of course, in Quantumania. And what's interesting is, at least the way the script is written, it seems that he went back to the main 616 sacred timeline. Remember, there were theories on whether or not he got shot into the wrong timeline. Doesn't seem like they decided to go with that direction, at least with the original script. But it is interesting that he's taking a break from Hope. So I think just the stress of everything made him need some personal time. But that's kind of interesting. All right, so then this is crazy. Suddenly, Peter Parker and Miles Morales are just swinging around together. Like, wait a minute, what? We missed something here, right? So I'm wondering if maybe Spider-Man 4 originally was going to come out before Kang Dynasty, and that would have explained where Miles came from, because the script makes no explanation. It's just Miles is there. Maybe Miles has always been there, or maybe there was some multiversal event. But, again, the script doesn't tell us. He's just suddenly there. And then also we see that Ned and MJ are at MIT, just like they were at the end of No Way Home, and MJ has a new boyfriend, which that causes a lot of stress for Peter. So that's interesting. Then we have Kamala, who is having dreams with Monica in them, and in those dreams, Monica is giving some type of a distorted warning. Kamala's not able to figure out what it is. I will say this is the only time in the script that Monica is mentioned, so whatever they were doing with Monica and the Beast and Binary and Professor X, at least that was not going to be resolved in Kang Dynasty. Probably would have been resolved in Secret Wars. All right, so Kamala is very concerned about that dream that she had. She talks first to Captain Marvel, but Captain Marvel, doesn't have any ideas. So then she goes to Wong. Wong confirms, this is very interesting, that the Bangles are sending out a beacon. So very similar to the 10 rings. So both of them are sending beacons. Yikes. Meanwhile, we see that Shang-Chi is now testing the 10 rings with Bruce and She-Hulk. So remember, originally, Shang-Chi went to Wong, who then brought in Bruce. Well, now, according to the script, Shang-Chi is off with Bruce and still trying to figure out what's going on with the rings. Sam is gathering a team in Wakanda. So probably Brave New World would have ended similar to what I suspect it will when we see it in a few weeks, which is that, he realizes, I got to get a team together. I'm really surprised, though, by this team. The team that's mentioned is Ironheart, Shuri, Falcon, and War Machine. Like that's all that he could form? Now, probably he was still gathering a team, but I am really curious now to see what direction Marvel will go, because that is not the team I would have thought he would be forming. Now, I see why Ironheart would be there, because Ironheart knows Shuri, and obviously Falcon knows Sam, and Sam knows War Machine. So these are all the folks that would have been in Sam's orbit, probably. But still, I'm a little surprised by that small number of folks on the team. Then Doctor Strange and Clea return from their visit to the Dark Dimension, which of course we saw them leaving to go do at the end of Multiverse of Madness. And because they show up in Kang Dynasty knowing about the Multiversal War, knowing about Kang, I'm thinking Doctor Strange 3 was originally planned to release before Kang Dynasty. And now, of course, everything's changed because we're not going to get Doctor Strange 3 before Doomsday. So it'll be interesting to see how Marvel incorporates Clea and Doctor Strange in Doomsday. Then Doctor Strange gets a vision of an interconnected web of worlds, as he describes it. Basically, the different worlds across the multiverse. And it reminded me of this image from Multiverse of Madness, where Wanda was seeing all the different universes and how they kind of just formed this web. So I'm really curious to see how they explain in Doomsday and hopefully in Fantastic Four how all these different universes, 838, 616, 10005, etc., how they're all tied together. And then we see that Wonder Man is struggling with depression. Now, of course, Wonder Man has a series coming out at the end of this year, and I'm assuming similarly that he had a series coming out before Kang Dynasty. And at least in Kang Dynasty, they're saying the reason he's depressed is the tragic loss of his fiancée in a car crash. So perhaps that's something that was originally going to happen in the Wonder Man series, or maybe it still is. We'll have to wait and see. But because of this tragic loss, we see that he has isolated himself from his friends, and they list his friends as Wong, Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, and Hulk. And it makes sense that at least Shang-Chi, Hulk, and She-Hulk are his friends because they're out in the West Coast. And a lot of us have been theorizing that the Wonder Man series may help set up a West Coast Avengers. So we'll have to see whether that happens. All right, so then we see Hawkeye, who is back in Iowa, but then when he goes into town, he hears screams as people look up in the sky and everything turns dark. Because now, finally, the Kang Council has arrived. And the Avengers, they explain, are to be punished. Remember at the end of Quantumania, they said we need to stop wasting time and take action? Well, they are now taking action. And the Kang Council explains that the Avengers have stolen sacred relics from the first multiversal war. So I don't think any of us were surprised to see this, right? We all were theorizing the Bangles and the 10 Rings were both part of this original multiversal war. And in fact, we knew the 10 Rings were sending out a beacon, but now it turns out the Bangles were as well. So I'll be really interested to see what Doomsday does with these two items. Are they still going to make them relics from the first multiversal war, or are they going to do something completely different? But also interesting is, it mentions that another of the relics of immense power are the sling rings. That's fascinating because remember in Deadpool and Wolverine, they used the sling ring to go in and out of the void. And I thought, wow, how are they doing that? I don't think a sling ring can do that. Maybe it just turns out it's always been able to do it if you just knew how to use it in that fashion. So I'll be really interested to see if Doomsday makes the sling rings part of also this, multiversal relic. Then the script lists several heroes who are all looking up in the sky as multiversal portals are opening and a bunch of the Kangs are coming in to do battle. So in particular, the script lists Ant-Man, Cassie, Hope, Hank, and Janet, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Moon Knight, and Star-Lord. And then the script tells us there's a lot of death, like right off the bat. I mean, literally, it calls out Cassie, Hope, Hank, and Janet as dying. And I am so surprised by this. Not surprised that they died, but surprised that if that was the plan, why didn't they kill some of them during Quantumania? One of the reasons that a lot of fans, myself included, were disappointed at Quantumania is basically it ended the same way it began. Everything was fine. If they had killed Hank at a minimum, let alone Janet or Hope or Cassie for crying out loud, that's crazy. I'm also curious if they were planning on doing a Young Avengers because obviously Cassie is now helping form the team. So the fact that she would have died right off the bat in Kang Dynasty is crazy. Then also I'm going to list Moon Knight as having died because the script does not mention him again. And we're going to see that the script calls out all of the remaining heroes and where they go and what teams they fight on. So anyway, I do believe Moon Knight unfortunately died as well. All right, so then the remaining heroes now all gather in Wakanda one by one, and in particular, we see Thor and Love, the Guardians, minus Kraglin, which I thought was interesting, Shang-Chi, Wonder Man, Wong, and America, of course, Doctor Strange and Clea, Spider-Man, Miles, Daredevil, Punisher, that's kind of cool, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, and Kate Bishop, Star-Lord, Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and Hulk, and then, of course, Sam and the team he had been building, Falcon, Shuri, Ironheart, and War Machine. So these are the main 30 heroes that appear and fight throughout the rest of the script. Now, we know that not everybody can appear in the movie. That's obvious. But I was surprised by some of the exclusions. So, move these guys up a bit. So there are no Eternals, and there were even theories that maybe the Eternals were somehow tied to the Bangles and to the Ten Rings, but apparently not. No Monica, which I mentioned earlier. No Nick Fury. I mean, I didn't expect him to go fighting in combat, but it was just weird that he doesn't even appear. None of the monsters appear. No Wanda and no Vision. I'm particularly surprised by no Wanda, because I am sure she's going to be part of Doomsday, big time. No Wiccan, no Namor, no Valkyrie, and no Gaia. Now, Gaia surprises me mainly because of her power set. I would think they would want her to help. And then I'm out of room, so sorry, Gaia, I'm going to swap you out. There was no Jessica Jones or really none of the other Defenders other than Daredevil, and of course Punisher appears. And then none of the Thunderbolts. How is that even possible? Because I'm certain they're going to be part of Doomsday. So yeah, that's a lot of heroes that don't show up in the movie. I guess I'm a little surprised. But anyway, get rid of the ones that didn't show up. These are the main 30, and we're going to see how they divide into teams to deal with the 3 main Kangs. This is pretty cool, actually. I loved this part. So we have a cosmic team, and their goal is to keep the 10 rings safe from the Centurion. All right, so notice the leader is Doctor Strange, and we have Clea, Wong, America Chavez, Thor, Love, Shang-Chi, who of course has the 10 rings, Warlock, Phyla-Vell, and Cosmo. And then one of the cool things about this team is Phyla-Vell and Love form a friendship, which is really cool because they're both 2 young girls around the same age. So I love that. And then the second team is the Earthbound team. Now their mission is to destroy Immortus' base and keep the Negabands, which they do officially reveal that the Bangles are the Negabands, to keep those Negabands safe. So notice the leader is Captain America, and the team includes Captain Marvel, Hulk, Wonder Man, Shuri, Miss Marvel, who of course has the Bangles at this time, Star-Lord, She-Hulk, Rocket, Groot, and Falcon. And then the last team is the street level team, and their mission is to destroy Rama-Tut's fortress and to destroy the conduit. So the conduit is the device that's going to combine the Bangles and the 10 rings to create, well, we'll have to see what that is in just a minute. All right, so that team is led by Spider-Man and includes Miles, Daredevil, Punisher, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Ironheart, and War Machine. So really cool. I love how they broke up the teams and went after each of the Kangs. So then this is crazy. As though there wasn't enough going on, Earth's leaders, we now learn, are able to activate adamantium sentinels. So yeah, the script makes it clear that there is adamantium discovered in Tiamat, but we already know that from the trailers for Brave New World, so that stayed the same. But seemingly, the plan was that Ross and other world leaders would use this adamantium to create a sentinel force to fight off superpowered beings because they were worried the heroes wouldn't be strong enough. So the script doesn't really mention what these sentinels do. I'm sure they just fight in the battle, but wild. I love that idea. That will be very interesting to see what Brave New World does with the adamantium. And then the heroes suffer many, many deaths. Not every death is called out in the script, but they do mention who's still alive after the main battle. So here's everybody that died. Yeah, pretty much everybody, right? I mean, the only ones left after these main battles are Thor, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Miss Marvel, and Hulk. Notice, those are the people that do have those important relics. Shang-Chi still has the 10 rings, Miss Marvel the Bangles, and Doctor Strange the sling ring. Now, like I say, the script doesn't go into every one of these deaths, although Miles Morales' death, that was really drawn out and very sad. Of course, obviously affected Spider-Man. Daredevil did a fantastic fight to the death. Wonder Man, remember how he was depressed already? He decides to sacrifice himself and does an incredible battle. And then, of course, Thor is very sad that Love has died. Obviously, that affected him. So, yeah, crazy. I have no idea what the plan was for everybody that died. I mean, somehow Secret Wars was going to bring them back, right? But, man, that's nuts. And then the Kang Council starts to backstab each other. What a surprise, right? And in this case, Immortus actually kills Centurion. So we're down to 2. And the script doesn't actually tell what happens to Rama-Tut, but I'm assuming eventually he gets killed by Immortus as well. Okay, so then Beyonder Kang finally arrives. He comes from the Beyond Zone, and I love this. Scott cries out, "Now that's Kang." So that's really cool. So then Immortus manages to wrestle away the Bangles, and the Kang Beyonder manages to wrestle away the 10 rings. So now they have their relics. Then the heroes suffer even more death at the Council's hands, and basically we lose Thor, Shang-Chi, Ant-Man, and Hulk. So we're literally down to just Spider-Man, Miss Marvel, and Doctor Strange, although Doctor Strange everyone assumes is dead because he's been gone for a while on a special mission, which we're now going to find out about. So Doctor Strange now arrives with the TVA because he has met up with them and their Ark life raft. Remember the one that Mr. Fantastic was making. And on the Ark are the TVA, Deadpool, Wolverine, Tobey's Spider-Man, Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, Doctor Strange, and then the Fantastic Four and Franklin Richards. Now, interestingly, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is never even mentioned in the script. So I'm not sure if they just didn't feel he was worth appearing or not, but I was really surprised by that. But anyway, they pull in the only two remaining heroes, Spider-Man and Miss Marvel, and they head off to a safe space between realities. Script doesn't explain it any further than that, but wherever it is, they think they're hiding. We're going to see, though, they don't hide for long. Meanwhile, Beyonder Kang and Immortus fight through and even around Loki's tree. So that's crazy. And then Loki is now struggling to hold the timelines together. And the Beyonder Kang, I would have loved to have seen this, literally chokes the life out of Immortus using the timelines. Oh my word, that is insane. Then Kang absorbs Loki's power, but then the script doesn't really tell us what happens to Loki. I'm kind of assuming he dies, which is also wild because we were all expecting him to reunite with Thor. Maybe that was going to happen in Secret Wars. But anyway, Kang has now absorbed Loki's power, and he now takes the rings and the bangles and merges them into a device which allows him to reshape reality. Yes, he creates Battleworld. Also, he recreates Chronopolis, which of course we saw in Quantumania, and on Battleworld, it has merged, and I'm just reading this directly from what the script said, 616, 838, and Earth 601? No clue. If anybody knows what Earth 601 is, let me know. But anyway, then the Beyonder Kang finds that life raft and strands it on Battleworld. So yeah, you can see setting the stage for Secret Wars for sure. Now the Beyonder Kang has recreated his perfect timeline, one where his Ravonna is still alive and actually still pregnant, and she walks up to him as he explains to her, now they have the utopia at the end of time they've always wanted, right? She says to him, "You came back." And he says, "For all time, always, my love." So, you kind of feel sorry for this Beyonder Kang. I mean, he really was trying to save the multiverse. Granted, he did it by killing tons of people, but he really was trying to do the right thing. He's kind of like Thanos in that regard. So, okay, there you go. That is the highlights from the script. If this has made you interested enough, go check it out on Twitter. I'll leave links so you can do so. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think any of this will stick around? I don't think so. I think they're going to rewrite all of this, but it certainly would have been an interesting movie, and I really wonder what they would have done with Secret Wars if this had been the movie that came out for Avengers 5. All right, leave your comments. I love to read and respond to all of them. Also, don't forget, January contest, be a subscriber, leave a comment, and you could win a book or a steelbook. And there's that membership option in case you're interested in that. And then I always love to mention the Discord. Here we are in the Metaphysics channel talking all about the multiverse. So I will leave a pinned comment so you can be part of this conversation. 1,900 members across the globe, conversations 24/7, and we would love for you to join us. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, the ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.